does dialogue matter? This is something that's been on my mind recently since I watched Furiosa because of a quote I saw from George Miller. Leading up to the release of the movie, he said, "The problem with dialogue is that it tends to slow things down. Film is a medium often best enjoyed at high speed." And you can really see that in the final cut of Furiosa. The action is relentlessly fast, just like in Fury Road, and Furiosa only has around 30 lines of dialogue in the whole movie. And what's weird is that this isn't the first time a big director like him made this kind of statement about dialogue. During the press tour for Dune Part 2, Denis Villeneuve said, "Dialogue for me belongs to theater or television. I'm not someone who remembers movies because of their lines. I remember movies because of their images. That's the power of cinema. Frankly, I hate dialogue." That quote was insanely bold and controversial, and Denis even had to come back and clarify that he obviously doesn't hate dialogue, but that he really believes in strong imagery above everything else. But whether you agree with these two directors or not, I think there is clearly something they're doing right. Because in my opinion, Furiosa and Dune Part 2 are two of the best movies to come out this year so far. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they end up sweeping awards at next year's Oscars. But before I get into what we can learn from these two movies, let me start by pushing back a little bit on what George Miller and Denis Villeneuve said. Because like many others, I think they're wrong. George Miller said that the problem with dialogue is that it tends to slow things down. But while I can understand why he would believe that, I think it's an overgeneralization. If we just look at Fury Road and now Furiosa, I can understand why he believes dialogue would slow things down. Because if you look at his movies and his style of filmmaking, dialogue does slow things down. He prioritizes action and visual storytelling. But if I take another movie with a completely different style, like The Social Network, the dialogue is the action. It dictates the pacing and requires your attention. It doesn't slow things down. In fact, it speeds up the pace of the movie.
Won't be like you're not a part of Facebook. You're not a part of Facebook.
My name's on the masthead.
You might want to check again.
It's because I froze the account?
You think we were going to let you parade around in your ridiculous suits pretending you were running this company?
Sorry! My Prada's at the cleaners! Along with my hoodie and my fuck you flip-flops, you pretentious douchebag!
Security's here.
I don't think dialogue in general tends to slow things down, and even if it did, I don't think there's anything wrong with slowing things down once in a while. Slow dialogue isn't necessarily a problem, but boring and uninteresting dialogue is. Now, to also push back on what Denis Villeneuve said about the fact that you don't remember movies because of their dialogue, but their strong imagery, there are countless movies that have iconic lines. I don't even necessarily have to give you examples because if you think about your favorite movie right now, there's probably a line that really stuck with you. But if the only thing you thought about was a strong image or scene, then my whole argument falls apart. So yeah, actually, let me give you a few examples.
No, I am your father.
I'll be back.
Houston, we have a problem. Here's Johnny.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
And what's funny is that we can even do this with Denis Villeneuve's own movies.
You look lonely. I can fix that.
Un plus un, ça peut-tu faire un?
And shatter. May thy knife chip and shatter.
So while I understand what he means when he says imagery is the power of cinema, I think dialogue really is important and can be just as memorable. He does raise a valid point though, because in the same interview, he said that silent movies were the best kind of movies. And while that in and of itself is debatable, I think the point here is that visual storytelling is the core of cinema. Before films had sound, you had to tell a compelling story only carried by the visuals. And in Denis' point of view, he said dialogue belongs to theater and television. And I think he said that because those mediums usually do not have the budget or the capabilities to do the same kind of visual storytelling that movies are truly capable of. But I don't think you have to cast aside dialogue in order to elevate cinematography. Movies are at their best when all of these different senses are effectively used. But yeah, while these quotes taken out of context are a bit questionable, these two movies are absolutely amazing. And I truly believe more filmmakers should strive to make movies like this. Furiosa feels like George Miller's best work yet, and it really is bigger and more emotional and more ambitious than Fury Road. I loved Mad Max Fury Road, and in my opinion, not only does Furiosa manage to be even better, but it elevates the original in ways that I never imagined. The pacing was so well tuned. You can tell they prioritized having the right rhythm and artistic style for the action rather than trying to be 100% realistic, and the action is just so good. The choreography is just amazing, and they found such a cool and impressive way to capture it. I don't even know what was real or not during some of the action scenes because the camera would make some crazy ass movements. Both leads are amazing. Anya nails the role despite having little to no dialogue for most of the movie, and she just has this amazing presence on screen. Chris Hemsworth was also amazing. I wish we could see more of this type of villain role from him. It's kind of becoming a thing now where we see these Marvel actors finally getting to shine in these projects after playing the same roles over the past decade. Robert Downey Jr. in Oppenheimer was insane. Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things was so good. And now with Chris Hemsworth, it really makes you think about how these actors had so much potential during all these years they've been stuck doing Marvel movies. Anyway, I could keep talking for way longer about this movie, but like usual, I'm gonna give Furiosa a score, and I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. It's not exactly a perfect movie, but it was everything I could have ever wanted from a Mad Max movie. It is such a complete experience. Go watch this movie in theaters while you still can. Anyway, I haven't uploaded in a bit because exams have been kicking my ass, but summer break is coming soon, so I'll do my best to upload weekly. So if you want to see more of these types of reviews, subscribing would really help me out. I'm trying to get monetized, and if I could do this instead of working a part-time job, I would have a lot more time to make these videos, and I just love making them. So yeah, if in the meantime I have no new uploads, you can check out my last video about the MCU. That video isn't just me complaining for 10 minutes. I actually went and tried to fix the problems that's been bothering me. So yeah, anyway, see ya.